Hello, my friends. Welcome to Porter's Place. It is the most exciting time of the year for me. March Madness. At the start of the day, 64 teams, 64 all vying for the 2025 National Championship. And you know everyone in these parts are talking about the Florida Gators. The Gators wrapped up practice at around 2:45 in the afternoon. The Gators, the number one seed in the West region. They won the SEC Tournament Championship not that long ago, the fifth in the program's history. This team, in my opinion, is going to cut down the nets in San Antonio because we know that during this time of year, guard play is so important. But I'm not alone today. I've got somebody who lives, eats, breathes, sleeps Gators basketball, LockedOn Gators guy, Brandon Olsen. Let's bring him in. Welcome to Porter's Place, my friend.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Listen, we know that Gator Nation is excited about this team, and for good reason. They hadn't lost a game back-to-back. You've covered them all season. What has impressed you most about Todd Golden's team?
I think part of it is just that they can get it done in any way possible. I know that they are thought of as a team like, yeah, they're going to live and die by the three, but they also get into the paint consistently. They have done a good job mostly protecting the ball, except for, some stretches where they don't. I mean, I feel like they're built for March, and that's the way that Todd Golden built this roster is, hey, we are shaping this team to be able to make a deep run in March.
And rightfully so, their guards are outstanding. Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, Will Richard. As I said at the top, we know that guard play is usually key to winning when you're in the NCAA tournament. Could you just explain how good this trio really is?
I think that Walter Clayton Jr. should be in the conversation for National Player of the Year. What he's done has been nothing short of incredible. And just from a fan perspective, it's been awesome to watch him take those next steps this season as an actual leader. You can even go back to the SEC championship. Micah Hanlockton got a lane violation on a free throw, and Walter Clayton Jr. walks up to him and he's like, we can't have that happen. He's just talking with his hands. He's very animated as he's explaining it, but it's just you're in situations now where you can't have those mental lapses there. And so Walter Clayton Jr.'s leadership has been incredible. Elijah Martin as one of the best on-ball defenders in the entire country, in my opinion, as guard, and Will Richard, absolute microwave. I mean, we've seen him just completely take over games at times, and when he's on, I don't know if there's a better shooter in the country than Will Richard.
Wow. Third year for Todd Golden. Last year they went up to Indianapolis. Myself and my tag team partner, Shaz Peroni, they were eliminated in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Golden saying not that long ago, the one thing that he thinks that this team is doing better now that they did not do last year in last year's tournament, and that's playing defense. Talk about how improved the Gators' defense is now.
Yeah, I mean, the Florida Gators' defense right now, Todd Golden will live and die by the four factors: effective field goal percentage, turnover percentage, offensive rebound percentage, and free throw rate. And in terms of forcing bad shots, effective field goal percentage, Florida's sixth in the country right now, 10th overall defensive on Ken Pom and defensive efficiency. They have just taken strides. They don't allow a lot of three-point attempts. Teams are shooting a decent percentage against them, but they don't allow a ton of attempts there. They don't foul excessively. I mean, I think that you look at what happened in the SEC tournament, and there were more fouls than usual, but it wasn't even about shooting fouls. It was just playing aggressive on-ball defense there. This team looks way more interested and invested in playing defense than they did last year, and that's been one of the biggest steps, and I think Elijah Martin has really helped that, and Will Richard, I feel like he's taken big steps. I mean, against Tennessee, he was the one guarding Chaz Lanier the entire time. It was Will Richard's assignment, and being able to play assignment defense is incredible, and it's a luxury that a lot of teams just don't have right now.
Speaking of the SEC, 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. Florida 5-1 against the top tier. Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee. No question, this team is battle tested.
Yeah, I mean, they are built for it. Like Elijah Martin, also Final Four experience with Florida Atlantic coming over. This team went and fought and clawed. I mean, I go back to that Georgia game a couple weeks ago, and yeah, they lost, but they were down by 26 at one point. Came back, took the lead, and yeah, lost the game, but took the lead there. And that was to be able to fight and claw back in hostile territory against your rival when you're down 26 is something that a lot of teams can't say that they're mentally prepared to do. And this Florida Gators team, they don't shy away from anything. I mean, South Carolina early in the SEC slate, South Carolina was leading the entire time. Florida was playing poorly. They came back, took the lead with 5 seconds left. It was the first time that they took a lead that game, and they ended up winning. The Missouri game, this is a team that has fought and clawed every step of the way, and it's incredible the resiliency that they have.
Brandon, when you talk about how deep the SEC is, and as we said, with 14 teams from the league in the NCAA Tournament, it is also really impressive that the Gators have not lost back-to-back games this season.
Yeah, I mean, Florida, they've not lost back-to-back games, and they've beaten every SEC team that they've played except for Kentucky. And even this was the one rare year where they only played Kentucky once. But every other team that they played, they beat. Missouri, they lost to the first time. They came back and beat them. Tennessee, they split the series there. Georgia, they split the series there. This is a team that it's tough to beat anybody twice, but Florida Gators are not a team that you're going to be able to do it to.
All right, let's talk about one other key factor that I think is going to be so big for this team. They dealt with some injuries throughout the season, but they've had guys just really step up and come up big. How huge would that be for Todd Golden, knowing that he's had so many guys play in primetime games because of injuries?
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the way that they've constructed this roster. I mean, the multiple big men that can come in at any time. Ruben Chinyelu sometimes gets in foul trouble, but you've got Micah Hanlockton right behind him. Alex Condon, you got Thomas Huck there to help him out as well. Like you've built this team to be able to go deep into the bench. Denzel Aberdeen stepped up in major ways when Elijah Martin and Walter Clayton Jr. were dealing with injuries. And it's just been incredible to watch how the depth of this team has really stepped up.
All right. As we said from the top, I think the Florida Gators are the favorite to win it all. I'm sure you feel that way. I'm assuming, considering you eat, breathe, drink Gator basketball. Your Final Four, my friend.
I feel lame for saying this, I'm going to be honest with you, but my Final Four, Duke, Florida, I have Houston in there as well. I think that Houston may not have, an awesome offense, but I think that they're there. And my final team in the Final Four is Michigan State. I'm not going to buy into Auburn, especially with how they finished the season.
So you have Michigan State, Duke, Houston, and Florida.
Yep, and then Florida beating Michigan State, Duke beating Houston, Florida beating Duke.
What sells you on Michigan State?
I'm more so not sold on Auburn. I'm just more so not sold on that bracket. I think Michigan State they're able to play grinded out ball when they need to. They can threaten. They play sound fundamental basketball, and I feel like they've kind of evolved throughout the year. They're leaning on more youth than anything else than the experience that we thought they'd lean on. And yeah, that side of the bracket, just overall, to be honest, not super impressive. If I'm just going to be frank about it, just not sold on them.
All right, let me show you my bracket. I think our director, Andy Willis, can pop it up on the screen. Pardon my handwriting here. I'm going to do my best to tell you what I have up here. In my Final Four, I'm being an SEC homer. I got Auburn, I've got Florida, I've got Bama, I've got Tennessee. And I'm going to look in the West region just for a second. That's to the left bottom of the screen. I have Florida obviously beating Norfolk State. Then they'll take on the two-time back-to-back, well, not two-time, but back-to-back national champion UConn Huskies. Are you agreeing with me so far here, looking at my bracket?
Looking at the West, we are very similar there.
Okay, and when if from the Memphis, Colorado, are you taking Memphis there?
Yes, I am.
All right. What about Maryland, Grand Canyon?
Still Maryland with you. The only difference we have in the first round on that side, Kansas and Arkansas.
Say that again?
Kansas and Arkansas. The only game that we disagree there on the winner.
The reason why I took Arkansas over Kansas, because this has been a rough year for Bill Self. I am not used to seeing, no one is used to seeing them lose so many games, and they have been so inconsistent. And then in Arkansas, I just believe, because both Calipari and Self are outstanding coaches. Don't get me wrong, but I just got a feeling, Brandon, that Kansas, something just isn't right, and Arkansas, they played in a tough league, and I think Calipari is going to do enough to get his team over the hump.
Yeah, that could absolutely be it. For me, what it came down to was that I don't know how into analytics you are, but the kill shot is a run where, 10-0 run, basically. Kansas, very good at getting those. Arkansas, good at getting them, also gives up a lot. And so for me, that's where I was thinking of. I think that Kansas being good at going on runs and stopping runs, and Arkansas giving up a lot of runs while
Yeah.
still going on runs, I feel like something's got to give, and that in a close game would be a deciding factor for me.
All right, so we'll stay down in that part of the bracket. I've got Arkansas taking on St. John's. Obviously, for you, it would be Kansas. Is St. John's pretty much where you're thinking there?
Yep, yep.
And what another terrific head coaching matchup, whether it's Kansas or Arkansas. You've got Rick Pitino. All this guy does is go in, turn around programs, and win.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we get to see St. John's in Florida. I'm going to be honest. One, because I'm from Queens, so
Okay.
I want to see St. John's make a run. But also, if St. John's makes it and Florida makes it, that means that Walter Clayton Jr. plays against Rick Pitino, who was his coach when he was at Iona, and I kind of want to see that matchup here late.
Wow, and the interesting thing too about St. John's, because I do have them playing Florida. What is that? The Elite Eight. I've got them matched up. The Gators and St. John's. I know you're a St. John's guy. What has impressed you most about the Johnnies and what Rick Pitino has been able to do with this squad this year?
I think that the way that they come out and play defense against everybody is just so impressive. My main concern with them is just I don't know if offensively they'll be able to keep up with a team like Florida or if they'll be able to keep up with any of the other top dogs. Also, just feel like it was a relatively down year conference wise for Big East, but like St. John's defense has just been incredible. I mean, in terms of effective field goal percentage and turnovers forced, they're first defensively in the entire country there. So I'm looking at that. I'm thinking that it's really tough to beat them. And I think that, yeah, offensively, that would be the issue for them if they were to run into Florida. Is just you can force bad shots, you can force turnovers, but at a certain point, when you're not a good 3-point shooting team in terms of quality or quantity, it's tough to beat a team that can get hot in any instant.
Now I'm going to go to the top, the South region, Auburn. You're not sold on them. I get it. I have them advance to the Final Four. Obviously, I had Louisville beating Creighton. Creighton beat Louisville. And then I had Auburn taking on Texas A&M. And the one team from that bracket, because you always have that one team that you don't overlook, but you just based on, if you want to base it on analytics, records, conference, all that kind of good stuff, you really don't put that much stock in. My team to kind of surprise people in the South is Rick Pitino's son at New Mexico. Is that where he is? New Mexico? Is it New Mexico where his son is? And so I have them taking on Auburn in the Elite Eight, with Auburn advancing to the Final Four, taking on Florida. What about Auburn you don't like? They've got a guy who's a National Player of the Year candidate back. What is it?
I feel like I look at them and I get it. They're losing their last 3 of their last 4 is not a thing that I look at them and I say, oh, like they were horrible losses, because they weren't bad losses, right? It was Texas A&M, Alabama, Tennessee, all good teams. But I just look at this team in Auburn and I see them play so many closer games than they should be playing against even lesser competition. This is a great roster in Alabama and Auburn. In Auburn, Alabama, they could do a ton, but they just keep playing down to competition. And I have a very hard time buying in on a team that you play down to your competition. It's tough for me to go, oh yeah, once March comes around, like you're ready to go. It's tough to get out of a mindset of I'm not going to give my all 100% of the time. And I feel like when I watch them, that's what I see. A team that constantly lets teams into battle when they should not be in that situation.
Back to the Gators. One thing I do love about Todd Golden that you usually sometimes don't really hear from coaches, and that is he's very confident in this team. He does not back down from the fact that our goal is to win it all. I like the fact that he doesn't give me that coach talk.
Yeah, he just tells it how it is. I mean, you look at him on the sideline, and he's saying a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to repeat on air. Like, he's a very animated coach, but I love it because I feel like he doesn't do it in situations where it's not warranted. I feel like he does it when genuinely the referees are missing something. He looks fired up. He gets him going. I mean, you have the crowd yelling behind him when he's playing in Gainesville, and he's cheering, he's pumping them up, he's getting them loud. Stuff like that kind of fire from a coach. It feels like he's just real. I don't know any other way to put it. It feels like he's just real and honest about things. And to watch someone with that passion, it's incredible to me, especially for someone who didn't go to Florida to have the kind of passion that he seemingly has. Is just stuff that I don't think you could overlook, especially when it's a grueling tournament right now.
And not trying to rehash old accusations, but I think considering some of the dark cloud that was hanging over the program, there were some accusations made against the coach that were cleared up. What do you make of how this team, despite all of that, he was able to stay focused? This team was able to stay focused.
Yeah, I think it really goes to his leadership more than anything else, because he's the guy that was targeted with those accusations, right? Mm-hmm. And throughout that whole time, team is playing fantastic basketball, right? Like they were focused, they were playing through it all, undefeated at a point for a long stretch, and with all of that hanging over their heads, they just put their heads down, played basketball, and went through it. And I think that to get your team to focus, especially considering that these are still college students, right? And that's a thing that when I look at any college team, I tend to go, okay, like they're going to be more volatile because they're college players. They're still figuring things out. To be able to just week in, week out, game in, game out, be able to focus, hunker down, and just pull out tough wins. I mean, the mental resilience of this team is just remarkable. That's one of the reasons I'm so confident in their March success that they should be seeing, is just the mental resiliency is unmatched.
Usually during the tournament, you got to execute. You need some luck. And usually it is a guy that you don't even think about that has a big game or a big tournament and that propels the team to winning it all. Who do you think on the Gators that we're not thinking about that you believe will be a key factor if this team is to cut down the nets in San Antonio?
I think one guy, I'm torn on two bench guys. I'm going to be honest with you here.
Okay, make the case for both.
Yeah, I'm looking at Denzel Aberdeen. Mm-hmm. I think that he's proven that he can come in big moments. He can come in, get buckets, get you some points, has some game-changing defensive plays, creates steals, creates turnovers. And then I'm also looking at Micah Hanlogton, because I think that being able to have a backup big that can come in, protect the paint, and, I mean, nothing short of dominate offensive rebounding-wise, Micah Hanlogton can do it. And so I think that just giving you those extra possessions is huge in a tournament like this where it's going to be close. Like Norfolk State game, might not be too close, but you win this game, you're facing either UConn or Oklahoma, and you're going to be able to need to win within the margins there. I think Micah Hanlogton helps you do that with just how many extra shots he gets you.
And if the Gators are going to cut down the nets, what would be the keys? 3 keys, if you could give me 3.
I think that it has to be, you can't have an off shooting night from 2/3 of your big 3. Like you can't have Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin shooting poorly. You need to have at least 2 of them on at all times. I don't even know how to explain it other than mind-boggling turnovers that they've had at some points where, I mean, we saw it in the first game of the SEC tournament. Ruben Chinyelu took the ball up court for some reason, turned it over immediately. You can't have those kinds of mistakes. And then not getting out-hustled. You look at the Missouri game in the SEC tournament, you were bigger than them in every single way, and they destroyed you on the offensive rebounds just because they hustled more than you. And you can't have those kinds of moments where Florida has these stretches where they don't hustle as much as they should. You can't do that. You're in single elimination, win or go home, and those kinds of things just can't happen.
One of the things that really impressed me in the SEC tournament championship game was every time Tennessee would try to make a run in that second half, Walter Clayton Jr. was either making a big shot or it was a big assist to someone else who made a big shot. And I think that's a testament to really how well-rounded his game is.
Yeah, I think that him coming back to college for another year is incredible for him. He's had, again, some of those mental lapses that we've seen from him, but he's really toned them down, gotten a lot better defensively. And when it comes time to hitting a clutch shot or just having like an ice in your veins moment, that's Walter Clayton Jr. Like he loves that moment. He has that time, and he never really looks flustered. Even when he's having a rough shooting game, he looks even keel, very composed, and confidence never lacks. He'll go out, he'll keep putting up shots, and you may get frustrated by saying, hey, it's not falling right now, but you know that at any given moment he could just hit that one, and once you see that one go in, he's going to go off.
And you know he can shoot when he's being compared to Steph Curry.
Yeah, I mean, when you got range like that too, he takes some shots where it's like, why would you even take that? Was it the Alabama game? I think in the SEC tournament, right before halftime,
Yep.
pulls it from near half court, and it didn't go in. But when he put it up, you're like, oh, he might actually be able to do it. And when you have that kind of range, it's very impressive from Walter Clayton.
You know, the other thing that I found interesting, and I don't know how much you've talked to these three guys, and Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, and Will Richard, is they're truly close. They really have a real bond. And if you can, could you speak to that?
You know, I think that the way, I mean, you look at like Instagram posts and they're always together. You see them, and to be able to just bond in that way. And I think that a lot of them, they or all three of them came together with a common goal, right? Like Elijah Martin didn't come here after the success he found at FAU. He didn't come here to not win a national championship. Walter Clayton Jr. didn't come back home to not win a national championship. Like Walter Clayton Jr. could have gone anywhere. He was deciding between St. John's and Florida, but he ultimately chose Florida so he can come home and try to win a national championship. Will Richard, 3-and-D player that's been proven for a while now, he could have gone. Instead, he came back to win a national championship. And I think that the three of them just thinking in unison and having those similarities and that confidence that they all have and the composure that they all have, I think that is a true testament to the actual bond that they have off the court. Like you could see them play on court, you see the chemistry, you see the way that they carry themselves. I think none of that works if you don't truly love each other off the court. And I think that they do. And that bond is just unbreakable.
And no doubt, the Gators are playing the best ball at the right time. Sometimes coaches, they fear peaking too soon. Does that concern you at all?
A little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. A little bit. This is just, they're a team that they've had their moments where they just don't show up. Like the 64-44 loss against Tennessee a couple months ago, and they had the loss against Georgia where they just don't show up 100% of the time, and that's it feels like one of those moments where, well, they're due for a game like that. It kind of feels like, but I also think that they're rolling right now, and maybe you could peak too soon, but at this point, just enjoy the ride, right? Like they're playing the best basketball in the entire country right now. They're playing their best basketball of the entire season right now. Just enjoy the ride, let them go, and no team's going to beat Florida, right? Florida is going to have to play a bad game in order to lose. It's not like any team is going to go out there and just rattle Florida. It's just going to be, hey, they're having a bad shooting performance. But outside of that, truly, this team's built for it.
And I know you've got to love, 3 years, what Todd Golden has put together down in Gainesville. You got to love the direction that he has this program going.
Absolutely. Look, I'll give Scott Strickland my fair share of blame on things, but he absolutely nailed this hire, Todd Golden. And I owe Todd Golden a thanks, and I have actually thanked Todd Golden for this before. But when Todd Golden got hired, that was when I started really diving into analytics in basketball. And it's incredible. And it's easy to buy in when you hear someone tell you their process, you watch them try to get things going and try to build the process, and then you actually see the success coming from it like we're seeing right now. It's easy to buy in, and yeah, you're going to replace quite a few upperclassmen this coming off season, but you kind of just trust that Todd Golden can replace things. And the only rough portal cycle he had was his first class when he had a few weeks to start getting everything in motion. So I think that Todd Golden has earned every bit of respect that he's getting and just the trust from Gator Nation.
Brandon Olsen, LockedOn Gators, a young man that I've enjoyed talking to today. And Brandon, if you don't mind, I will be coming to you more. I would love to talk on Monday after the first 2 rounds of the tournament are over. Hopefully the Gators will survive and advance, even if they don't. Can I come back to you on Monday, my friend?
Hey, anytime you need me, I'm there.
Thank you, sir. Brandon Olsen, LockedOn Gators, thank you for joining us again. We can pop up my bracket. I have an all-SEC bracket. Again, when the tournament started, the SEC had 14 teams, In the Final Four, I've got Auburn winning the South, the Gators winning the West, Alabama winning the East, Tennessee winning the Midwest. And then once they get to the Final Four, I have the Gators advancing to the national championship game and Alabama advancing to the national championship game, with the Gators winning it all when it is all said and done. This is a complete team. They've got great guard play. They've got an excellent head coach. They have depth. They are battle tested. They are extremely, extremely, extremely deep. So again, Brandon Olsen with LockedOn Gators. So glad to have him today, my new BFF. You'll be seeing him on Porter's Place, I promise you, real soon. Thanks for watching. And being a dog fan, I sound crazy. Go Gators.